Everyone. This video is going to explain how to start pulling together your rough drafts for your research essay. Now, this part of the project tends to be a little bit more challenging and anxiety ridden than the earlier phase, which was the gathering phase. And for most people, the gathering phase tends to be the most engaging, the most fun, because there's really nothing else you have to think about except going out and getting as much information as you can about your topic. Now we've moved into the second phase here, which is the organizing and drafting phase. And this phase tends to be a little bit more challenging. And for most people, this is going to be the most challenging part of the whole research project, because now you're looking at all of this great information and you have to start figuring out what you're going to do with it and how you're going to organize it into a final essay. So fortunately, this video is going to explain to you in what I hope are very clear and concrete terms what my expectations are for both the rough draft and the final draft of the essay. This part of the project, like I said, tends to be challenging because figuring out how to organize your essay, how to put information where, is one of the biggest challenges in any kind of research project. So what I want to do with this video is to clarify for you exactly how I want you to approach organizing your essay and thinking about what information you're going to put where. So you're basically kind of putting together the building blocks here of your essay. So first of all, just a reminder that your final essay has to reflect perfect MLA formatting. And then the additional thing here that you'll see is that I want you to organize it using subsections. And so what that means, subsections, I want you to think in terms of the book we've been reading this semester, The Culture of Fear. And you'll notice that Barry Glassner has organized all of his chapters into subsections, and each subsection has a subtitle. And you're going to be organizing this essay along those same kinds of principles. So you're going to be organizing your essay also using subsections in much the same way that Glassner used subsections and subtitles as well. So these are the sections that your rough draft and final essay need to include. You're going to need an introduction. You're going to need body sections that are all subtitled. You're going to need a conclusion that also has a subtitle, and it should be titled something other than conclusion. And then you're going to need a works cited page. So we're going to just go through these one by one. So we'll start with the introduction. Now, the nice thing about the introduction is that it's very similar to your project overview in some ways. So it's going to contain some of the same information, but you need to keep in mind that it's not going to be an exact replica of your project overview. So you can't just cut and paste your project overview and have that serve as your introduction. You're going to have to make some very important changes, but you should have the foundation in place to begin building your introduction if you did a good job on that project overview. So your introduction should include a thoroughly detailed account of how and why you became interested in this topic. And remember, this is also how you opened your project overview. And so for many of you, when I was looking at the project overviews and commenting on them, I asked you to elaborate on this section of your overview. And this is why, because you're going to be using that also as the opening to your essay. So this was the first and most important requirement of this project, was that you choose a topic that you had a passionate curiosity about, and it should be a kind of curiosity and interest that you could articulate to other people. And you need to do that now as you begin your research essay. You need to explain to us why you chose this topic, what drew you to it, and that needs to be fully elaborated. And that actually serves as kind of your hook into the essay. Your interest is the thing that's going to engage the reader. So you're going to want to take the time to do this well and to do this right. You're also going to need to include a summary of the search questions that began your search. And remember, this was also something that was part of your project overview. I wanted you to let me know what you were beginning, what search questions you were beginning with. Now that you've completed the search, you're just going to remind your reader of the search questions that guided your search. So the one thing to keep in mind about this is that this is all going to be cast in the past tense, because this essay that you're presenting is essentially your report to me and to your readers about what you hoped to find out and what you did find out about this topic. So in detailing the research questions you began with, you want to make sure that you're acknowledging that the search has been completed and that you're now kind of reporting out to your readers about what it was that you discovered. So make sure that's in the past tense. Now, this is a new section of your introduction. This was not in your project overview. This is your methodology, and you're going to need to explain your research methods. So I want you to talk a little bit about your most important and primary sources of information. Whom did you interview? You're going to want to summarize your research project. I don't need you to give me a list of like every single search term that you used for this. It's going to be down to you to kind of reflect back on this search and to think about which of those sources were most central to building your understanding of the topic that you have now. And you'll summarize those. And your methodology needs to be at least a paragraph long. And then you're going to close out the introduction by explaining what you did discover. And you want to focus on the most significant insights that you gained as a result of the search. So think about things like how your beliefs about the topic changed from the beginning of the search to the end of the search. What were the most significant insights you gained as a result of the search? This section of your introduction needs to be at least one paragraph long, and it constitutes the thesis of this research essay. So this is going to be the organizing paragraph that leads you into the body sections. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. This is just a quick checklist of those things that I've talked about. So your introduction should contain a thoroughly detailed account of how and why you became interested in your topic, a summary of the questions that you began your search with, an explanation of your methodology, and an explanation of what you discovered, which is going to constitute your thesis. Your introduction should be 1 to 3 pages long. All of those sections that I've just detailed here, you are not, N-O-T, not labeling them. This should read as just a short 1 to 3 page section where you've got paragraphs just smoothly moving together. And then you are not going to be subtitling the introduction of your essay. This is the only section of the essay that you do not subtitle. Every other section of the essay will require a subtitle. So that is what should be in your introduction. And for most of you, you could actually sit down and start building that introduction fairly quickly and fairly early in the search. The only things that might require a little bit more time and thought will be that thesis paragraph or paragraphs where you really talk about what you learned. Now, for the body sections of the essay, the introduction should flow pretty organically into the body section. So you're going to organize the body of the essay by developing body sections that focus on different aspects of your topic, and those things should grow out of that thesis paragraph, those most important insights that you gained. So you want each body section to focus on a single segment of the topic. You want to think of each body section as a kind of mini essay within the larger essay. Each body section must be subtitled, and the subtitle should reflect the content of that section. You'll have to decide, based on the research that you've done and the things that you've learned, what body sections you're going to develop to organize your essay. But like I said, these should grow pretty naturally and organically out of your thesis. So some very common body sections include things like a history definition or a background section about your topic, and I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. People who focus on career research often have sections built out around the idea of the advantages or benefits of a particular career and maybe the drawbacks or challenges of a particular career. You can also organize a body section around a sort of typical day in the life, and that might be a body section that would draw very heavily on, say, an interview write-up if you followed someone along for their professional day. And then for other kinds of essays, if there are current issues, current challenges, current controversies, those are all things that you can kind of draw on to help you organize the body of your research essay. Now back to this first one here, a history definition or background. Everybody is going to need some kind of section like this right after the introduction. Everybody needs a section where you really ground the reader in your topic. You give us whatever background information we need to fully understand this topic, and whatever history that we need, and you stipulate whatever terms we need to be familiar with. And that's when you're defining it. You let us know these are the things, this is a vocabulary that you need to be familiar with. So that first body section, everybody should kind of approach in the same way, and you want to be thinking, what is it that my reader needs to know about this topic in order for the rest of the essay to actually make sense and work. So some combination of history definition and background is what you're looking for there. And then from there, it really is going to depend on your topic and the research that you did. So remember that the body sections need to be particular to your topic, and they should be comprehensive in terms of covering the questions and conclusions that you speak to in your introduction. So you really want to cover those things that you talk about in the introduction of your essay. You should have 3 to 4 body sections in your essay. And remember, body sections are those sections that occur between the introduction and the conclusion. So this is in addition to the introduction and the conclusion. You're going to have 3 to 4 body sections in the essay, and for each body section, you want to develop 1 to 3 pages. So each body section should be 1 to 3 pages long. You have to think of these body sections as mini essays within the larger essay, which means each one requires paragraphing and organization and transitional sentences to introduce and conclude these body sections and sort of anticipate the next body section that's coming. So each body section, like the introduction, should be 1 to 3 pages long. And here is a really important requirement. Each body section has to draw on several sources of information or research. So what I'm looking for when I look at these body sections is that you can integrate multiple sources into a single section while still being the sort of driving voice of this whole research essay. But I'm looking to look for that integration of sources. So each body section has to draw upon at least 2 separate sources for support. And I'll be looking very closely to make sure that you're citing at least 2 sources in each of the body sections. So you want to avoid body sections that are too short, well, only 1 paragraph long, that's too short, or that only draws upon 1 article or 1 source for support. That's going to be an underdeveloped body section. Now, for the conclusion, you want to think about the conclusion of your essay in much the same way that you think of conclusions for any essay. For this particular project, like your body sections, your conclusion is going to be 1 to 3 pages long, and it also must be subtitled. And the subtitle should reflect your most important information and insights about this search. Your conclusion is really going to elaborate and develop that thesis paragraph in the introduction. So this is where you're really going to go into a lot of detail about what you learned and what's important, and what you're really going to fully reflect on this whole search and the topic or the issue or the career that you have researched. So make sure that you subtitle it and that the subtitle reflects the content of the conclusion. Your subtitle should not be conclusion. It should reflect whatever's in that conclusion. Like all conclusions, you're going to elaborate on the significance of this search and of this topic. Each essay is going to have its own particular needs as far as that goes, but some common approaches to the conclusion include talking about the future, forecasting the future. This is especially useful for essays that focus on careers or social political issues. For a career, you can talk a little bit about how this has impacted your decision to pursue this career. And for social and political issues, you can talk a little bit about where we are and where we seem to be headed and what the significance of all of that is. You can also focus on analyzing a particular issue and its likely impact on society. As with all conclusions, you're going for that so what kind of answer. You need to answer the question. You need to speak to the significance or the importance of all of this. So, as with the body sections, your conclusion must grow out of your introduction. Remember that when we talk about introductions and conclusions, we're talking about sections of the essay that actually mirror each other. So the conclusion really builds on and elaborates that thesis. The conclusion is always a good place to return to your hook, right, to reflect again on what initially drew you to this topic and where you are now with it. But overall, it's going to be specific to the needs of your particular essay and your particular topic. So that covers how you should be approaching the rough draft of your essay and the final draft, how you're going to be thinking about organizing this. Now, once you've drafted the essay, you also need to put together a works cited page. You have to have a works cited page. Your page has to list at least 5 sources, so you have to draw on at least 5 sources for this essay. I don't have any other requirement for the sources. What those sources are and the sort of diversity they represent in terms of the different types of sources, that's up to you. I just need to see that you have at least 5 sources correctly cited and formatted. This works cited page needs to be properly formatted. You need to be making sure that you're using the 2016 updated MLA standards. I have very high expectations for this works cited page. We've been working on works cited all semester, and you have quite a few resources to help you get this right. So if you need to review MLA formatting and citation guidelines, you can refer back to our research lab number 7, which is an MLA documentation and formatting lab. You can also take advantage of one or more of the many, many resources available to you at the McCarthy Library. They have quite a few MLA citation links and other resources available to you. I expect this page to be perfect. Your MLA citations for this essay are worth all by themselves, separate from the grade for your research essay. MLA citation and formatting is worth 25 points all on its own. And I'm looking for perfect. So if you have questions about how to get it perfect, take advantage of the resources available to you. That also includes me. I'm happy to help you if you have questions with particular sources or particular aspects of MLA formatting and citation. So one thing that you want to remember, and this is very important for this rough draft and research essay, when you go to turn in your rough drafts for peer review for the research essay, you're going to earn points for that rough draft. But you're only going to earn points if all of the sections of the essay have been drafted. If you have not drafted all of the sections of the essay, you are not going to get points for this rough draft. So I want to see fully drafted an introduction, body sections that have subtitles and draw on at least 2 sources, a conclusion that is subtitled, body sections and conclusion all need to be drafted so that they're at least 1 to 3 pages long, and I want to see an MLA Works Cited page. So all of those things have to be in place in order for you to get credit for your rough draft when you turn it in for peer review. So that's the process that we're going to be using. These organizational guidelines that I've given you are required. These are not optional. Your essay must be formatted in this way. If it's not, you're going to take a significant hit to the final draft of your essay. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me.